Hey darlings, welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for being here. If you're new to my channel, please click that subscribe button below and don't forget to turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss the subsequent videos on this channel. Thank you. So today's tutorial is going to be based on how to make a female pant straight on your fabric, and the measurements required are here on the screen. By the way, I already have a tutorial on how to make female pants before, but due to sound distortion and other complaints, I decided to do an updated version of it. Now, to fold out your fabric, you're going to take a measurement of your hip, that is your hip circumference plus 1 inch, then divide it into 4, add 3 inches to that measurement and use it to fold out your fabric for your front piece. Also note that this measurement also incorporates your seam allowances. So now that you've established how to fold out your fabric, you're going to determine the length of your pants. But first of all, you're going to just mark ½ inch above your fabric right here. And this is going to serve as an allowance to join the waistband later on while sewing the pants or the trousers. So now we are going to be making out the length. And to do that, you're going to be placing your tape 1½ inch off the full length of your pants, and that 1½ inch will be placed on this ½ inch line that you've marked above here. Now you're going to keep your tape straight to establish the length of your pants, and once you have done that, you are going to mark it out like this. So the measurement I use is right from the waistline area down to the ankle area. So here you're going to mark the half of this box that you've created, and then you're going to connect it with a line to create the pressed line for your pants. Next, to mark in the crotch measurement for my pants, I'm going to be leaving that tape at 1½ inch still at the waistline area, and I'm going to be marking mine at 10 inches. If you don't know how to determine your crotch measurement yet, I'll leave a link below on how to take a crotch measurement. Now the next thing we are going to determine now is the knee line, and to do that you're going to place your tape on the crotch line, fold it into the ankle line, then on that area right there you're just going to give it an indication line because that is not the knee length yet. So I'm just going to make an indication point right there. Then from that indication point I made right there, I'm going to be marking 2 inches above it right here, and that is where the knee line is. So there, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark 3 inches above the crotch line, and that is an indication line when I'm going to probably mark in the rest of the measurements. Now add 1 inch to your hip circumference, divide it into 4, whatever you get, further divide it into 2, and from this midpoint take that measurement from each side of this block. Now the hip circumference I'm using is 39 inches plus 1, which is 40 inches, divided by 4 is 10 inches. So I marked 5 inches on each of these block lines. So from this crotch area, this is a crotch line area, and from this point to this point, I'm going to divide it into 4. As for the measurement I'm using, after dividing the 5 inch I marked earlier on into 4, I have 1¼ inch, and I'm going to be measuring in, taking the measurement right from this point inwards. Now next, you're going to measure from this point to this point here. You're going to take the same measurement from this point to this point at the waistline area and then connect it to each other. Now to mark the waist measurement is going to start from this point inward. Okay, so you're going to take a circumference of your waist measurement, divide it into 4, then add 1 inch to it for that allowance. So assuming the measurement we are using is 30 inches waist circumference, divided into 4 will give you 7½. Then we are going to add 1 inch to that measurement for that allowance. So you are going to mark it right there. Now on the crotch line from this point right here, I'm going to be measuring 2 inches upwards to this point. and I'm just going to mark it right there. Now you're going to smoothly connect this point to create the crotch curve. So now we are going to be working on the knee line measurement, and you're going to take a circumference of your knee, divide it into 4, and you're going to be marking it on each side of this block. So for the model we're using, we have 16 inches altogether. Divided by 4 is 4 inches. So I'm going to be marking 4 inches on each side of this block line. And down on the ankle area, you're going to do the same. Take a circumference measurement of the ankle area, divide it into 4, whatever you get, to mark on each side of the block. Now at this indication line here, whatever you measured from this point to this point, add ½ inch to it and take the same measurement at this point. So I'm going to be marking 5½ inches right there. Now I'm going to be connecting the lines together. Now at the crotch line area, I'm going to be connecting it straight as well. And the picture you see on the screen is exactly what I use for my pants pattern, and it often comes out very comfortable and nice. So now after this connection, the next thing we are going to do is to take 1 inch away from the press line, and I'm going to be marking that line at 4 inches, as you can see right there. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to take ½ inch from each side of this dot line, and I'm going to connect it all the way to this point. Also be reminded that you can mark straight on your fabric. And now I'm going to be adding my seam allowances on each of these lines, and I'm marking 1 inch seam allowance all over those areas. Now after marking in the seam allowances, you are going to connect it just as we did for the main lines of the pant. Now at the crotch area, I'm going to be adding just ½ inch seam allowance on this area. Now at this front crotch area, if you intend to add the zipper at the front area of your pants, you have the option of adding the flap for sewing your fly zipper, or just making it ½ inch all through and add the flap later on separately. So I'm going to be marking the 2 options so that you choose one. Now to do that, to add the flap area, all you need to do, the first option is to add ½ inch all through to the crotch area, and the second option is to measure at least 1½ inch or 1 inch from this original line area right here. I'm going to be marking 1½ inch, and I'm going to connect it from this point area upward. So these are the 2 options you have. Either you cut it in together or you cut it separately later on when adding your front fly zipper. So next, you're going to be adding your hemming allowance at the bottom side of your pants, and I marked 2 inches in. So here, after cutting out my front piece, this is what my pattern looks like, and I'm going to use it to mark the back piece. Now to measure out the fabric that you'll be folding in for the back piece, whatever you use for the front piece, you're going to be adding 6 inches to it to fold out the fabric to mark the back piece of your trousers. Now also mark 2 inches above the fabric for the back rise of the pants. So the next thing you're going to do is to fold in the flap area if you cut it together. Then the next thing you're going to do is that you're going to be needing at least 3 inches behind this area before the crotch area of the front piece. But I'm going to add ½ inch for convenience purpose. So I'm just going to mark this in right there. Now I'm just going to set the crotch area of the front piece to be touching that mark I made, and I'm going to pin the rest up to mark the back piece of my pant. So now that I've done that already, the first thing I'm going to do right now is to extend these measurement lines that we made for the front piece. Now, because the back of your pant is usually meant to be larger than the front side, we're going to be adding some few allowances more to it, and we're going to be starting off with this crotch line area. And you see where I marked it before the seam allowance right here, because the front seam allowance is not going to apply to the back side of your pant. So we are going to be adding some few measurements here at the crotch line area. Now, the first 2 inches I'm going to be adding is for the back piece. Then the extra 1 inch I'm going to be adding later on to it is to balance out the front side of your pant, and this adding this 1 inch extra helps to keep the inseam of your pants balanced and not drawing up while walking. So I'm going to be adding this 1 inch right here to support the front side of your pants. So the next thing I'm going to be adding is 2 inches also at the out seam area of your pants right here. You're going to be marking 2 inches. Then at the knee area, you add 1 inch to each side of the knee area right there. And at the ankle area, you're only going to add ½ inch to this area on both sides of the ankle area. Now the next thing we are going to do right now is to mark 2 inches from this point outward. Now we're going to connect this line starting from the knee area to the ankle area, then at the out seam area. And then for this point, I'm going to show you how to connect this line properly, especially if you don't have a trouser cutter or a curve ruler. So the first thing you're going to do is to measure from the knee line area to that crotch area with a straight line first, and I'm going to show you how to improvise it to mark as if you have a trouser cutter or a hip curve. So after the connection you've made from the knee area to the crotch area, you are going to place your tape measure on it right from the crotch area to the knee area to the knee line. Then whatever measurement you have there, you're going to divide it into 3. Then as you can see, I have 12 inches plus few quarters here, like 12¼ inch. Then what I'm going to do now is to approximately place my tape on the knee line and measure up 4 inches and mark it right there. Now the next thing for you to do now is to mark at least ½ inch into this line from that point onwards like this. Now after marking in this ½ inch, you're going to smoothly connect from the knee line right here. You're going to make a smooth curve connection from the knee line to this ½ inch you've marked, and you're going to go onward from there up to the flap area of your pants, and that is all you need to do right there. Now after you've made the connection, the next thing you're going to do is to extend the hemming allowance for the back piece of your pants up to the front piece area like this, and then we're going to be working at the upper part of your pants. Now the first thing I'm going to do right now is to extend this line right here. Next, you're going to be indicating the original line, that is the ½ inch in right here, that is before the seam allowance line. You're going to indicate it at the upper part of your back piece right there. So now the next thing that we're going to do right now is to take in 2 inches from the original line right there, and we're going to be marking it at the back piece area right there. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do right now is to flip this front piece off, and that we're going to focus on the back panel of our pants. Now I'm going to connect these indication lines that we marked from the front piece together. Then from this point onward, I'm going to place my ruler like this to the 2 inches above there, and I'm going to extend it to the 2 inches rise we marked out for the back of our pants. Now the next thing we are going to do now is to mark in the waist measurement for the back piece. Just as you have for the front piece, the waist circumference divided by 4, then you're going to add 1 inch dart allowance to that measurement, and then you're going to mark it in there. First of all, we are still going to add our seam allowance, 1 inch seam allowance to it, but I'm just going to mark this first for clarity purpose. Now I'm going to make a temporary connection to these lines and then up to the rise area. Now to mark in the dart, you're going to be measuring to find the midpoint right there, and that is where my dart will start from. Then the length of the dart is about 5.5 inches, and just as we mark the dart for the front piece, we are also going to do for the back piece. So now we're going to be working on the crotch area of this pant. Now to match the inseam area of both the front and the back piece, if you measure from the front piece from this ankle area up to the original crotch line of the front piece, then you measure also the same at the back piece of your pants, you find out that the back side is at least 1 centimeter higher than that of the front piece. So to make that to be equal, you're going to be taking it out from the back piece. You're going to be taking at least 1 centimeter off the back side of your inseam. So to do that, you're going to be marking it out right there. I'm just going to mark it right there. Now the next thing I'm going to do right now is to flip up the front side, and then I'm going to make a connection up to the crotch side like this. And this is how the back side of the crotch area is, and I've added my 1/2 inch seam allowance to the crotch line area. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to also add 1 inch to this point. I'm going to add 1 inch to the side seam right here, and I'm going to connect it up to this indication point. Now the back piece of the pant is ready, and next I'm going to be showing you how to cut out the pocket piece for your pants. First, I'm going to take 2 inches in from this area, and then 6 inches length for the pocket. Then I'm first of all connect it with a straight line, then with a curved line extending it to the side seam allowance. Now I'm going to take 1/2 inch upward for sewing in the pockets later on. So I'm going to mark 1/2 inch seam allowance right there. Now before we cut this out, we are going to be creating our pocket pieces first, and I'm going to cut out my pocket pieces right here. And as you can see right here, this is about 10 inches length and 7 inches width, and I'm simply going to place this behind the pocket side of the front piece. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to make sure that the size matches with each other by trimming off these excesses, and when I'm done with that, I bring it out. Now I cut 2 pieces of this like this, and then the first thing I'm going to do is to indicate where the side seam are and where the upper side of the waistline are, and as you can see, I've indicated that, and I placed it back under the pant pattern. Then I'm going to cut through from this seam allowance upward. Now I only cut 1 piece and set 1 piece aside. Now as you can see, the cut part will be the inside part of the pocket piece, and then the next thing I'm going to do is to place the pocket pieces together and then make a curve at this side area like this, and then I'm going to cut this out. And these are the 2 pieces for the pockets, and I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces of each for both sides of the pants. Now the next thing I did was to cut out the waistband for this pant, and I have a detailed tutorial on how to make a waistband, and I'll put the link in the description box below. Now The length of the waistband I cut is 2.5 inches. Remember, we took out 1.5 inch from the full length of our pants for the waistband. Now, the extra 1 inch I added to this measurement is ½ inch for sewing the lining for the upper side of the waistband and ½ inch for joining it to the trouser. And this part is for the front piece, and this extra allowance you see right here is for the overlapping part at the front side area of your pants. And also note that each of these can come whether at the front or the back piece, depending on where you want the zipper area of your pant to stay, whether you want the zipper area of your pant to come at the back or the front. So guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to drop your comment on the comment section below. And if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please don't forget to do that. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys in my next. Bye.